Hello, I am back with more contraptions. Last time we did addition using signal strength, and this time I've got addition using binary. And if I just like shoot some of these, let's go with that one. That is 5 plus 3, and that is 8. So you can see it works real time and stuff. Just gonna reset this quick. You may be wondering how this works, and that's kind of what I'm here for. Now, on first inspection, it's a bit intimidating, I know, but if you break it down and look at each individual aspect, it's a bit more tame and a bit more easy to comprehend. Emphasis on a bit. This is still kind of terrifying to look at, but it's it's better if you have some idea of what you're seeing. So, first off, these red things. They all correlate to one of these little lamp things, and they're basically just input and output. I designed a few different versions here, so like I've got one where you can push a button, I've got one where you can hit a note block. I specifically used one with a target block, just so I can shoot it from afar and activate stuff from a distance. They're all basically doing the same thing. They're just activating a copper bulb for a T flip-flop and turning on all the lights. The real trick is that you can just like take a output off of this to work with that and have this be a proper like system input or something. If you look over here, that's exactly what I'm doing with this input. If I turn it on quick, you can see that all of the redstone lights up and all the lamps are on, but it also lights up this line and heads into the system over here. And then this one is just pure output. You have to turn it on and off through the back end, but it's good for displaying the output down here because you don't really want anybody messing with that. You don't want to be able to turn the output stuff on and off manually. So, with that all explained, it's time for the spaghetti. And you'll notice maybe a common theme here. Before we get to all that, I should talk about this. For those unfamiliar to binary, this is a truth table. This one specifically has 3 inputs and 2 outputs. Generally, you're just going to have some number of inputs and some number of outputs. For every one of those, you're going to have a column corresponding to it. And each row will be a different set of inputs. So like on the input side, you can see that I have every possible different combination of inputs here. You can, I've got them all on screen. You can pause and check. They're all there. And then on the output side, it's basically just what is each output based on the inputs. So like you can see when all of the inputs are off, the S output is off and the carry out output are both off. And this truth table specifically is what is known as a full adder. Full adder basically means you can pop in 3 numbers, binary numbers, so either 0 or 1, and then get a sum and a carry. Sum is basically just like what goes in the same digit for the output, and carry is what goes in the digit up, like to the left, or the slightly higher digit. It's like normal math. And That's what I did over here. These are all full adders, gradually getting smaller and smaller. They're just vary based on size and how they do things. So I can finagle with these, like have those two on, carryouts on, sum is off. And if I look back over at the truth table, these two on means sum is off, carryout is on. So this one I just kind of brute forced it a bit with logic gates and stuff. This one I did a little more of a different technique where I'm basically just checking for everything individually and then summing it up over here. And then for these three, I remembered something called the half adder exists. Half adder is a similar situation, but it only has two inputs. And it still has the two outputs, the sum and the carryout. So you can do 1 plus 0 for a sum of 1. You can do 0 plus 1 for, again, a sum of 1. You can do 0 plus 0 for a sum of 0. And then you can do 1 plus 1 for a sum of 0, but you have to carry 1 over to the next highest digit. So I remembered this thing exists, and I just like built it because I remembered that you could string two of those together to build a full adder, and also like connect them up with some finagling and stuff. But yeah, these are still full adders the same way the other guy was a full adder. They're just using a different method to get to their answer, and they're a bit smaller and stuff. And then I just used this concept, messed with it a bit, messed with it a bit again, and it's again, these are all full adders just doing different things to get to the same result. This one's smaller than the others, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted a small guy. So now I can take this full adder and just string them together. Now this first digit for the ones digit plus the ones digit, there's no carryover from anything on this side, so you can just use a half adder for that. The sum can go straight down here, and then the carry moves on and gets put into one of the inputs for the full adder. And then you can just do the same thing for each of the rest. Full adder with one of those, and the carry from over here. The sum goes down there, and the carry output goes over here. And then it's just the same thing over here. And then for this, the carry doesn't have another spot, another full adder to go into, so you can just output it as another digit. And in the end, you get a little thing that can add. So like, assuming you know binary at least. So like this is 8 plus 2 for 10. This is 2 plus 1 for 3. So 8 plus 3, 8 plus 4 plus 1 for 13. 8 plus... Do I know binary? That's the question. This is not 8, this is 10. 10 plus 3 is 13. Yes, that is correct. That is my 4-bit binary adder. You probably noticed that in the background. I will talk about that in the next one. Look at me working in advance like a YouTuber. But yeah, thanks for watching to the end. Have fun doing some redstone.